Welcome to a special edition of Let's Ride with Chris Harris Jr. I am Patrick Chiodo. I'm, of course, joined by my co-host, former Denver Broncos Super Bowl 50 champion, Chris Harris Jr., and we are graced with the presence of an amazing guest today, former NFL offensive lineman and defensive lineman, played with St. Louis, the Jets, the Dolphins, and a short stint with the Broncos. Host of the Zero2Sixty pod, owner of 60 Strength and Training out there in Colorado, soon to be University of Colorado offensive line coach, Matt McChesney. Matt, thanks for joining the program, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Great to be on the show. Chris, obviously,
yes, sir.
The NFL connection there. And then Pat, what you do, bro. You guys have a great show. It's awesome. I love it. And honored to be on today. And let's talk some shop, boys. Let's go.
Yeah,
yes,
thank
sir.
you, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you and Chris both have a similar background as far as your journey to the NFL, both undrafted free agents out of college.
Yeah.
You, of course, playing in the Big 12 for CU. Chris playing in the Big 12 for Kansas. Love that connection. Matt, I wanted to start this off, man. Your training facility and what you do as far as offensive line training and your work with the youth and the college kids, it's crazy to see, man. You're killing it out there. So I wanted to ask you, your career in the NFL, 6 years, freak injury kind of forced you out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to get into training after your career was over?
Well, being an average player with a lot of knowledge, I really wanted to, when my career ended in the way it did, a freak accident where, we'll just get into it. Justin Bannon, who has had his struggles post-career, was a great friend of mine. Yeah, you play with JB. JB's.
Yeah.
If you're around JB too much, bad shit happens. So, it's what it is. I love the guy, but it's facts. There's a reason he's where he's at right now. That's where we'll leave it. So yeah. He's one of my best friends in college, and we played next to each other. And then when we had the chance I was already here, and he signed here from Baltimore when McDaniels got the head coaching job. And, it was a bad day. It was like a break in between the draft, the year they drafted DT and Tebow, and we were on a golf course, and he hit me going like 50 miles an hour downhill in a golf cart on the left side and like Lonnie Paxton's big ass is in the car next to him or in the seat next to him. So that's 600 plus pounds of man at like the Castle Pines golf course, I think is where we were. It's like really nice, but yeah. I've had like some bad luck. So like lightning's popping off on like the 13th hole or the 11th or something. I'm like, hey, I don't want to get hit by lightning. Can we play best ball? And that's really what did it, because we all shanked our balls, and then Lonnie killed his. So everybody was going towards the ball, and I got out to get mine. And when I turned around, he hit me in the lower leg going downhill, like right above my ankle, but under my knee. Oh. And I'd had 4 left ankle reconstructions at that point. I had an injury waiver on it. So if I got hurt, I didn't get my contract. And it totally broke my ankle again, turned my foot, tore my knee up, dislocated my shoulder. It hurt bad. And I don't sue my friends, so I just kind of chalked it up. And, what really set it off for me, though, is I went back into rehab. And, I didn't want that to be the way I left. But, Josh McDaniels just got fired the other day, and this is why he got fired. Because of things like I'm about to tell you. So Chris knows this about the facility, and Greek used to be there, and he's an incredible man, and he was really sympathetic to what happened and wanted to help me. And this is nothing against Steve and Greek. He's that guy is he's incredible.
World class.
So the entire training staff was incredible, but it was like the 3rd day of rehab. I had to spend the night in the hospital and shit. It was bad. And I knew I was screwed, guys. I have 8 injury waivers. I've already gotten hurt. I've been on IR twice. The writing's on the wall. But I was really stubborn, so I'm like, I don't want this to be the way I leave. Let's see if I can at least go back and rehab and get back for camp. And McDaniels walked in and opened the way that the tubs are set up is they're elevated. So the hot tubs here, cold tubs here, at least that's the way it used to be. And I think it is. And so like you have to walk up. So I'm sitting up in the hot tub and my like whole lower half's in it, and I'm trying to rehab, go back and forth on crutches and shit. And McDaniels opens the door and he's like, "Golf cart, huh?" And starts laughing.
Oh,
like it's a joke. And I'm like, "This is a joke to you?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you're going to be back for camp," and like just shuts the door before I can even answer and walks off like giggling and shit, like making a joke to the guys in the other room.
oh
And
my God.
At that point, I already had my vest, and I was like, "Okay, I'm not being disrespected by this little fuck." And I got up and walked in and put my shit in a trash bag and crutched out and left. And
Hell yeah.
it's just, in my opinion, that's not the way you treat people, even if it is an off the field injury. And it's like David Nwoke just burned his whole face off. The Browns didn't laugh at him and cut him and like tell him to leave. So I just think that the NFL has, sometimes the guys in it have absolutely no heart, and he's one of them. And that's a hard story to tell, but it's been a long time since that happened. And honestly, when it happened, it was pretty traumatizing, but since then, it gives me a huge platform to just talk to kids about pitfalls and like what can really happen to you. So I'm very blessed for my time in the NFL. The fact that it was as average as I thought it was, I still got to play both ways and learn as much as I could. And that's allowed me to do what I do now. And, the NFL means not for long. So get your mind right.
Yeah, man. It's crazy that not a lot of guys play, get the opportunity to play on both sides of the ball. Do you think that kind of helped you in that sense, like going from being a D lineman and then going to playing guard?
So I think that and I say this to guys all the time, including my son, who's an 8th grader and like 6'3", 260, and just a monster, already getting recruited. And like, but I say to him constantly, like, are you a born offensive lineman? Like, do you have feet? Are you going to move? Do you have any fast twitch in you whatsoever? So born offensive linemen are slobs. And I don't care who says it. I don't care if you got a problem with that. See me. So I prided myself defensively on playing hard and chasing the ball. And like, it's a funny story. After my second training camp with the Jets, I played a ton as my rookie year, and playing defensive line with John Abraham and Sean Ellis and Dwayne Robinson, all these cats, and Vilma, and like we had pretty good defense. And then the entire offseason, the entire training camp, I'm the last guy cut. And it's like 7 p.m. If you make the team, your 7 p.m. hits and you don't get a phone call, you're on the team. Well, they call me at 7:02, and they're like, "Bring your playbook." And I'm like, fuck. So I walk in, and Tannenbaum's sitting there, and Bill Callahan's the offensive line coach. That's not Denny. And I'm like, why are you in here? And he looks at me and goes, Tannenbaum and Mangini didn't really say anything. Callahan looks at me and goes, "Do you want to play defense or do you want a job?" And I was like, "Job." And he goes, "You're a guard." And I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "Now you know the snap count." And that was it.
Hey.
And I was like, "Cool." Yeah. And I showed up every day at 5:30 in the morning with them, and he taught me how to, like, instead of trying to learn every box, because I was like, "Fuck, man, I've been playing nose tackle and 3 technique. That's a pretty easy job." But this offensive line's just different. And in about a week, he made it so simple for me to just package personnel groupings and how the offensive personnel grouping affects the defense, the front, and then how many linebackers on the field, where the numbers are. And the best thing he ever taught me was, I love it when I hear like the novice say, "The Mike is the middle linebacker." And I'm like, hold on, dog. The Mike's the most dangerous second-level player that's not a defensive lineman. I don't care who he is. If he's the nickel, if it's Chris and he's stacked by Darian Stewart, 25 is the fucking Mike, and we better roll Roger covers because he's coming. Yeah. And so the ability to play defense and everything I learned and all the instincts that it takes to play and the effort. And then when I got moved to offense, it became, once I figured it out mentally, which was pretty quick, it became just like Coach Callahan said, now you know the snap count, go get them. And, it was fun, man. I learned a lot, and thank God for it, because it allows me to kind of have my master's degree in football, and it allows me to really help these kids develop, and long line of successful NFL guys that have gone down that road too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's why I want to ask you a question on the development. I feel like in the NFL, you see an overwhelming effect of great D linemen, right?
Yep.
And I don't see the development happening within the O lineman, right? We see the same main dominant tackles, Trent, Lane, but it's not very consistent across the board in the NFL. I would say out of all the positions in the league, offensive line might be the weakest, just by analyzing and just watching the game. So what do you think? What's going on? What's the problem with the development right now with the O line?
I think we kind of did it to ourselves. I think when the players negotiated a lack of physicality in practice, I think there's two different games being played.
Yeah.
I think the rules say, so if I'm a right guard and we run power, one back power, my job is to kick out fucking Von Miller or like DeMarcus Ware or somebody. Well, I got to run 8 yards full speed and real fast, and I got to cinch up, and my head's up, and I don't give a shit about aiming point, and I'm trying to run through man. And that is never changed. But we can't practice it anymore because we're in sweatshirts. But at the same time, I want to protect the skill players, but why are skill players' head, shoulders, and necks more important than mine? So I'm really struggling with that part of it, and I don't like the fact that the skill players now, the defensive guys, Chris, I know you struggle with this your whole career, probably get fined for tackling people, but like you can't hit anybody anymore, so it's hard to really show the kind of like ferocious player you are. Like I remember Darian Stewart in the game when you guys played Cam after the Super Bowl. Like you guys broke Cam in the Super Bowl, but you destroyed Cam on opening night the next year. Like the hit Darian put on him in that game that's what football is. That's not a dirty hit. That's fucking football. So
a lot of people complained about that hit.
Exactly. And Kareem's getting fined out of the league right now. I don't know how you're supposed to play in the secondary anymore. But then flip it, I don't know how you're supposed to play quarterback anymore either, because I grew up watching like Elway and Marino and Cunningham and all Warren Moon, all these bad motherfuckers that would take it, like Jim Kelly, take a shot, get up and talk shit, like chew spit at him and smile and walk off. And like that tough guy quarterback shit is kind of gone too, because now everything's a flop to get a flag. So I'm really struggling with that part of it. And in full circle, like long answer to a short question, I think the inability to really practice, what got me better. So I'm on the active for 2 years, and then all of a sudden I'm a practice squad guard, right? Getting paid like an active guy, but I don't get to travel. I'm really pissed off about it. And the only thing I got is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday we're in full pads, Thursday we're in full pads, and Friday we're in pads until 9-on-7's over, and then we take off shoulder pads and put on shells. And like it used to be like a Christmas miracle, like, oh my God, we get to put on spiders. So like when I get moved to guard, and my learning curve is I'm not blocking some guy that they just brought in. I'm blocking in practice in full pads with the coach on his ass. That's John Abraham. That's Sean Ellis. That's Wayne Robinson. Like, and my learning curve goes from, well, I just had my hand in the dirt with him last year, and that's my boy, but now I got to block him every day. So Chris knows this. I'm going after my friends harder than I'm going after anybody else. I don't want Brad Kiesel playing middle linebacker talking shit to me. I'm trying to go cinch him in practice. Well, now, if you're a young guy in the NFL, and like this is one of the things with Connor McGovern, who's a great. You played with Connor, right? He's a starter for the Jets right now. He just hurt his knee, but great pro. I tip my hat to Connor. When he got drafted, he didn't dress for one game as a rookie. And Clancy Barreau was his offensive line coach, and like he's a tight end coach, and there wasn't a lot of development. And they were like, oh well, he's this and that. And I remember when Connor came into the facility, he showed up every Tuesday, and every opportunity he could get to work on his craft, and he developed himself into a great offensive lineman in the league. Started a ton of games, made a lot of money. I think that ability to humble yourself right now and say, I don't know everything and I can get better. I think that takes guys a really long way in the information age of ignorance is a choice. So if you want to act like nobody can help you or you're too good, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys who don't have the ability to say, I need help. Will you help me get better? Yeah. And that is another big problem in the National Football League. And look, the offensive line is always going to be behind. They're the worst athletes on the field. and they've got to deal with the best athletes on the field. So they're always going to be a step behind, but damn it, this is the last thing I'll say. There's a lot of like 5-finger offensive lines in the NFL where there's, I go up to Chris and block him like this. I better get him in the eyeballs. Otherwise I'm breaking every finger and life sucks. But if I do this, there's very few 5-finger fists in the NFL on the offensive line. So the units that operate like this, they will fuck you up these days because the NFL is pass rush heavy. And if you can just, I mean, look at the Eagles, bro. Line up and run the ball at people, and defensive linemen start going, what is this shit? I'm trying to take an A-gap. So, there's a lot that goes into it, but that's my 2 cents.
Old linemen hate sitting back in pass pro all game. They hate that. They want to go forward. They want to run the football. If you talk to any old lineman in the NFL, they want to run that ball, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and because it takes away the ability for you to sit there and go, hook, and then I got to chase your ass. Like, I don't want to chase you, dog. I always love when the coaches are like, on the pick, you better chase the guy. And I'm like, me? Chase him? Chris is gone. I'm not going to fuck you want me to chase him.
Oh, man. Right. Matt, Chris had some interesting things to say in our last episode about the Broncos offensive line and the sacks that Russell Wilson has been taking. And he and I, we've got good banter. We go back and forth. He said that the offensive line was a loser in this last game against the Chiefs.
Were terrible.
I said that they were fine, but some of those sacks that Russ took were on him because he held the ball too long. I want to get your thoughts. Grade the Broncos offensive line performance against the Chiefs.
I'll give them a C- because they ran the shit out of the ball. But
it is.
Okay, I'll give them a C-. They passed because we won. Thank God. And they ran the hell out of the ball. They had 40 rushing attempts, which is the way they need to play. But if you have 19 throws, 19 goddamn throws, and you give up 6 double hand sacks, 6 sacks on 19 throws, 6. I don't care if he's holding the ball or not. And he got hit 4 or 5 times too.
Yeah,
that's what I. Come on, that's what I said.
Right, they were dog shit, terrible. And not only that, but they're making $130 million combined, and Lord and Baker are both going to be up for contracts here pretty soon. So, look, I understand that there's some confusing shit going on. I get it, but a radar look is not the end of the world. I watched CU struggle with it terribly against UCLA to the point where my head almost exploded. And I'm like doing videos where I'm like, please God, Coach Prime, don't get mad at me when I say this, but what the fuck is going on? And then I go to the Broncos the next day and they line up nose tackle on a 0. Chris Jones is in a 5 with his outside hand down. The other 3 techniques on the other side in a 5 with an outside hand down. And they walk Chanel 54 and the other linebacker in the gap and mug him. That is not freak out time, Ben Powers. That's short set and help Garrett Bowles put your right hand up and stop 54 from Reed gaming your fucking ear hole. Short set with your left hand, Ben Powers. You just got paid $90 million. Left hand short set, absorb 54, torque his ass over the shoulder of Bowles. Bowles, if you watch him, he doesn't stay square. He's more worried about Chris Jones. His outside hands down, bro. He's going up the field to stop 1 foot in the ground like he's crossing you over. The Reed game's going to go to the fucking ear and shoulder. Chanel's the problem, not Chris Jones. They don't separate the penetrator. They have
who would you put that on?
At all.
Who would you put that on?
Not only does he not put his right hand up, he rotates and turns and goes from a door to a turnstile. So he goes from wide to narrow. And when he does that, and there's no separation on 54, all Chanel does is drop, or whatever his name is, he drops his shoulder and he goes 3D rush. So the punch misses his shoulder, and the penetrator is always the problem. Chris knows this. And right when they separate, because now Powers has to deal with Jones coming over the top, it's a sack. And that is, bro, when they line up a linebacker or a defensive end in NASCAR on your shoulder as a guard, and you pass set like that, that is 2 guys making a ton of bread that obviously didn't sit in the room together all week and go, how do we play this?
Yeah.
So you blaming both of them.
You
blaming both of them, right?
Oh, 100%.
You said it's on both of them. Okay.
Yes, it is. It's 100% Bull's fault for turning and not putting his right hand up. And it's 100% Power's fault for not short setting and shelving the penetrator. Like, that dude weighs 240, dog. You should be able to bench 240 50 times. Like, he should be throwing 54 across Garrett's face.
Yeah.
But my real problem is, after watching it, because they did a back view of it, and you can see Ben point, but you see Garrett like turn his head a bunch. And I've worked with Dalton Reisner. I've worked with Ron Leary. I don't like Garrett. I'm not going to sit here and act like I do. I can't believe he started 90 games here.
He's not everyone's cup of tea.
Like, I think it's the most irrelevant 90-game start in Broncos history because they've won dick the whole time he's done it.
Gotta win.
That's just, I understand that I was here for a small clip, but I grew up here and I know the history of this place, and it's the worst. I've never seen it this bad before for this long, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah. It's completely fair criticism too. I mean, and it's not
dogs. Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah, and like this was a guy who like struggled so bad early in his career, and everybody said, well, he came out as a raw prospect. Okay, fine. He's raw, but like, you're a first round pick. That label's on you, and you want to play like you're a first round pick. Those 2 seasons before the offensive line coach came in, remind me the name. Yeah, those seasons before Munchak, awful, terrible.
Awful.
Thank God for Mike Munchak. Thank God for Mike Munchak, because we got the best version of Garrett Bowles, but it was for like 1.5 seasons, and then he wants to carry that singular performance throughout the rest of the years and say, well, I did this 5 years ago.
I could argue that Bowles is the second. I don't know where the balloon's coming from, but I could argue that Bowles is the second best O lineman we got right now.
Who do you think's first, Lloyd?
I would say the center is playing the best.
Yeah, I think Lloyd is a stud. I hope they re-sign him and keep him here.
Dude,
he's really
what a story that is. I mean, there were people calling for that guy's head the last couple of seasons, and like I liked the pick initially. I really did. I thought this is going to be a guy that could potentially, be something down the road. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time, but man, he has put together a solid season. Him and
do what you always
too.
do, though, Denver. Don't do what you always do. Don't pull a McGovern. Don't develop your draft pick. Don't develop your draft pick for another team.
Yeah,
exactly.
Don't do it. I mean, I understand not right now. I understood not re-signing Dalton. I don't understand it right now. If you're going to give Ben Powers my problem with these two, look, McGlinchey is a great run blocker. I knew he would be a problem in pass protection. Yeah. Everybody knew it would be a problem in pass protection. He gets isolated a lot. He's going to give up pressure and sacks. I thought Russell Wilson was fleet of foot. It is what it is. Like, the right tackle's been a revolving door. I hope he comes back next year just to have some.
We haven't had a right tackle, and I don't.
Bro, you guys didn't even have a right tackle.
Yeah, it was right. It's a revolving door in Denver.
Yeah,
it's just who's gonna be next. It's
Orlando was like the last. Like, true, like,
man, we haven't had
and they let him go.
Band-Aid, Broncos Band-Aid at right tackle. That's why we paid him, right? Because it's just been a revolving door.
Now, I hope he stays, and that it's not really about Mike. I actually think the right side of the offensive line isn't really the problem. The left side is the problem. And when Powers is making what he's making, and you could have gotten Dalton for $30 million cheaper, and he went to Minnesota the other night and looked real motivated. And maybe that's what needs to happen here. Maybe Garrett needs to go somewhere else and figure out what it's like to get cut. Maybe Powers needs to look at himself in the offseason and go, because they're going to go to him and go, we're paying you like an all-pro, and you're playing like a rookie.
Yeah.
That kind of shit can't happen. We can't have – if they're going 5-0 on us, that means – and the linebackers are mugging, that means they're nickel or – probably nickel with one true linebacker on the field and a bunch of cover guys, which means we're probably in a cover 1 or cover 3 look, and there's going to be some open pockets and opportunities if we can just protect. and we're getting beat on a fucking read game with a linebacker and Chris Jones as a 5 technique. Like, that's not Chris Jones at 3 technique and the whatever, the Greek kid, 56, I can't remember his name.
Karlaftis.
Yeah, that dude. That's not those two. That's not 2 trained.
He's nice. I like him.
Yeah. TE. You know what I'm saying? So you can't lose that rep. And the entire training camp, I was at training camp watching this, and I would watch them do games in like one-on-ones, and they were just getting murked. And I brought it up 1,000 times. It's like, oh, they'll fix it. Really? When? So I think that if they can figure it both in Boulder and in Denver, if they can figure out how to protect the passer, I think the Broncos are a playoff team. The defense is nice.
Yeah, the defense is real nice now. I mean, granted, you give up 70 points in a season, and then you also hold Patrick Mahomes to no touchdowns. That's a pretty crazy turnaround in itself. Getting Justin back is huge, and Vance has made some good changes over the last couple of weeks.
Well, can I ask a question of Chris real quick?
Go for it.
Oh yeah.
Look, you played on one of the top 5 defenses I ever saw, right? In 2015 when you guys won that ring.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, just because we signed Clark and Gregory, the backups were better. They made a decision. Like, I know you've seen where maybe a veteran player thought he had the job and should have been the starter, but the guy behind him's better. I know you took someone's job once and never gave it back. So in your opinion, do you think that they just overvalued the veterans on the team early and then realized that they were turds, got rid of them, and then boom, the young guys are now getting an opportunity and they're hungrier?
Good question.
I think they really don't know what they have in the younger guys, right? They know Baron Browning is a good player, but can he be like this player that we're seeing now? They didn't really know, that's why they went out and got a Gregory and they got a Frank Clark. They didn't know Benito would be solid like he's been,
nice.
And now they see that those guys can play, right? We can go ahead and trade these guys and develop these younger pass rushers and Cooper, So I think they got a good, nice little young bunch, right there. Young DNs that they can work with, right? And a veteran inside presence, and we just gotta. I think they'll probably next year they'll definitely try to upgrade the corner position. Of course, that's going to be the biggest thing on defense, to upgrade that spot. See what's going to happen with the strong safety spot, because Caden Stearns is not here. He would have a great opportunity now, to be able to play and see what he can do. Locke, he's been solid. That was an excellent pick, but he still gets lost in the coverage a little bit, He's still, I like Stearns better, but I think those two guys will be formidable, to work at safety next year.
What's your thoughts on Kareem, bro? Like, I had Eric Weddle on my show on Tuesday, and Eric played for 14 years, played safety, bad man. And he's a coach now in Cali, and he's like, I try and teach, like, now I'm going between the knee and hip, and I'm like, oh shit, that's really going to piss offensive guys off. I'd rather get hit in the head, but then I kind of want to think when I'm older. So how do you feel about all this shit, bro? Like, my biggest problem is, how can you glorify, like, Steve, who I love, Steve Atwater. He's on the show next Friday. Like, one of my best friends and my favorite player ever, maybe. But how can Steve be glorified and John Lynch be glorified and B-Doc, who I played with, who knocked his own teammates out? Like,
thank you.
How can they be glorified, but then all of a sudden Kareem Jackson's the villain in Denver? What is happening, Broncos country?
Yeah, and he's like half those guys' size too.
Yeah, I think we have to really separate the eras now, and really separate everybody, right? Because the way they played is totally different, right? They're out there smacking dudes, laying the guys out that are nothing. These quarterbacks barely get hit. It's roughing the passer, right? Yeah. If they land on the quarterback, think about this. If their body lands on them, right, it's a roughing the passer. So it's just a totally, completely different game now, especially even in the back end, right? Yeah. And the way that we work with the receivers, it's totally different. Like those Dion and them, they could have a legal contact. They could ride the guys a little bit more down the field. And nowadays, you can't touch them, right? It's a totally different game from all over. So It's just right now, for a guy like Kareem Jackson, you got to kind of develop and change your game, right? You got to change if you want to continue to play in this league, right? You're gonna have to change your game, and or they're gonna take your money, right? Either way, they're gonna find a way to get you up out the league, right? And that's what they're trying to do.
I played line.
That Jaylen Warren fine, like absolutely ridiculous. He's blocking a guy. He's got a free runner coming at him, and then you find him basically a whole game check.
Like the thing that's really killing me is like John Runyon is the guy who pulls out fines. I don't know if people know this, but John Runyon was like one of the nastiest, surliest, dirtiest fucking players ever, bro. Like Michael Strahan hated John, like to the point where he would play so hard he'd like run him over and shit. I watched John Runyon give up like 4 sacks to Michael Strahan on Monday Night Football one time. But John Runyon was a great player. His son's a player. I just like John. If I'm going to talk to him, like John, dog, are you getting a cut of these fines? Because you find shit out of people, bro. You are way dirtier than this.
Dude, they say they give that to community service, but we never know what happens to that money, But I think it's a bigger. I think the bigger question before we leave. I think the bigger issue is that they're trying to keep it. The parents. It's about having their little kids still continue trying to keep the game alive. And I think that's the issue right there.
I'm so glad you brought this up before we leave. Like, look, 60 Football Academy, 60footballacademy.com, 60strength.com, all over social media, TikTok and Instagram and obviously Twitter or X or whatever it's called.
Twitter.
That's what we do, man. We've been 13, going on 14 years, over 500 kids placed, some of the best players in the country, from this area. But you said something just now, Chris, that it's catering towards Karens and minivans and moms and like it's going soccer style. And I personally, and I say this to every single person that comes into my program, the 3 consults I have this afternoon, they're going to hear it, whether the kid's 10, 15, or 20. This is not for everyone. It is a collision sport, not contact. The injury rate is 1,000% regardless of rules, the turf, head contact. I don't give a shit. You're getting hurt. There are grown men playing, and not just playing. There are grown men that didn't come from fucking Cherry Hills. I grew up in a double ride trailer, dog. Without football, I'm going to the military or jail. Thank God for this game because it's given me everything I have. And if I look at a kid who has nothing, and I'm like, if you show up at 5 a.m. and bust your fucking ass for 4 years, you'll go to school for free. And then, you know what? Ryan Jensen from Fort Morgan, who walked into CSU Pueblo at 6'1", 230, and just played for 15 years and won a ring and has $140 million in the bank. That's what the fuck this is. So if football continues to ignore its base, eventually it will just be entertainment. And that sucks. And I think the product is already a little watered down, and I think it'll get worse as they try and make it safe. It's like making roller derby safe, bro, or boxing safe, or fighting. You can't make this shit safe. It's impossible. And Chris knows this better than anybody. When you're out there thinking, you're a step behind and bad shit happens. Every time I've gotten hurt on the field, it's because in the last practice, my first year in Denver in training camp, Jarvis Moss stopped in the middle of the play and I stepped on his foot and broke my leg. I was in a game in Miami where the play was over and the pile, the tight end got finished over the pile and it rolled into my knee and blew my knee out. I was just standing there. So, but when people go half speed and think, bad things happen. So, it is what it is.
That's great answer. I mean, action, reaction, the more you think, the more in danger you're going to be.
But also the ability for the parents to say to their children, look, you can play football, but when, I just got done coaching my son's 8th grade team, and now he's being recruited by high schools to go play, and he's already gone on multiple recruiting trips. And he's built for this shit. He's 6'3", 260. He's in 8th grade. He's wearing my clothes. He stole my Jordans this morning. My 45. 45.
Which ones?
Dog, he stole my 4.5s and wore them out. And I'm like, if you crease those, you die. So, but like he'll walk in and I'm like, okay, you're built for this shit. You're working out. You're doing it right. But then there's guys and parents that walk in and they're like on this pipe dream where they're like, well, my kid's big and the coach said he works hard, so he can get a scholarship, right? And I'm like, you know how many big, soft, like lethargic, just dudes I've met that think that they're good and just like size means dick. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how fast you are. Well, to a point, but like this is all about the mental. When Chris went undrafted, did it not piss you off?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. That
there were 27 motherfuckers that went in front of me, and then they moved me to guard, and I got to play against some of them. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So it's about what you do with the spite. Like, it's not about what you do in this game with the gold. When they give you shine, you earn that. Congratulations. But when they tell you, fuck you, you can't play, or we're going to move you positions, or you're too small, or we're going to go sign somebody else and actually let him go to the Chargers, what the fuck? Like, that kind of shit drives guys like us, especially the undrafted. So, 40% of the league is undrafted and like 1AA and D2 guys. And there's a reason for that. Grunt game. Remember that. So,
amen.
Hey, and then one more thing before I leave.
Yeah.
When the fuck are they putting you in the Ring of Fame, dog?
Dude.
I think you got to be, I think it's like 5 years or something. I think that's how they go.
They need to,
JJ Watt went straight in. I mean, he retired. JJ Watt retired and he was in there, man.
They were like, shit, we'll just do JJ Watt Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, JJ Watt was raising millions of dollars, hurricane,
Fair enough. But I mean,
you raise millions of dollars too. It's called Super Bowl 50. Blast the ring, bitch.
Yes, sir.
Hey, last question before we get out of here. Broncos versus bye week. Who you got winning?
Well, hopefully the Broncos. But look, this is my thing with the bye week. Just don't allow the 3 pitfalls of every professional athlete to happen. And those 3 pitfalls are booze, drugs, and women. Stay one chick, like Herm Edwards said this to me when I was a rookie. He had 1 wife, 1 house, 1 car, 1 watch. And I was like, well, can I have like 3 watches? 1 watch. And I'm like, okay, coach. And like, I know it's simple, but it's true. Nothing good happens past 1 a.m. These are facts. I mean, unless you're at Tootsie's, but then you get beat by 70. So.
Oh, Matt. Dude, you're hilarious. Thank you for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it. Hey, let the people know about your new show on Bleav.
Yeah, so 0-to-60, we're on twice a day, 9 a.m. Bree Macis and I bring you the top 6 topics. It's fast. It's to the point, 20, 25 minutes. We get in, we get out. This morning we talked about Bobby Knight and the Thursday night game and the college football slate and some other stuff. The Nugs losing first game. And then the 2 p.m. show, I got to have you guys on. Chris definitely gets you on. But it's an interview show, man. And it's just guys that I played with or dudes I know around the country and just coming on and talking shop and talking ball. We had Coach JB on Monday. Weddle did Tuesday. We go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday there. Today's show is Ryan Koenigsberg from DNVR, and I'm down there doing DNVR buffs today. They do a great job. And then I don't know who we have on tomorrow, but Monday's Brendan Schaub, and next Friday's Atwater. And like, I'm pull the Rolodex and get everybody to come in and talk some shop and see how it goes. And Chris, we got to get you on, dog. Pat, we got to get you on, dog. Let's make this happen.
Yes, sir.
Brother. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining the show. Can't wait to have you back on. We'll talk some buffs next time.
We got to talk some college football next. Yeah,
dog,
Big
next
12.
year, Colorado, Kansas is a division game, dog. We go 2 Morris next year. We got to make a road trip, bro.
And we got to go to. I got to go to that game because it says that we won't play them for another 2 years after next year. So
that Lawrence trip, that was always a hard trip for us, man. I mean, why? Can I ask you something, Chris? Why in the fuck in the visitor locker room at Kansas? Why don't you guys have any fucking doors on the shitters? Why do I sit next to my best friend and take a shit before the game?
My man, I have not been in the visitors' locker room. So,
I know, but it's like you.
But look, we got a new stadium coming real soon. Right, state of the art stadium.
Still won't have doors on it.
It's all the way.
It was so weird, dog. Like I walk in and I'm just sitting there and like I look over and like my boy Michael Lewis is sitting. I'm like, hey Mike. He's like, hey Matt. I'm like, okay, this is happening.
Oh my God.
I know we're in a basketball school.
Not anymore, dog. That was a big ass win last week. Yeah. Although, are you scared about Iowa State this weekend? Because going to
yes. It's always tough going to Iowa State.
And
it was tough when I was
like they're good, and
it's always tough. Iowa State's always tough.
Iowa State going. I remember we played there once, and it was like 4 degrees, and the wind was blowing like right and left at the same time.
People don't know. It's hard to play down there, man. People don't know, man. They pack it out, man. Iowa State has some pretty good fans.
Yeah, they do. Well, that shit, there ain't nothing to do there.
That's all they got.
Iowa
literally
football.
Football. All right, Matt. Thank you so much again, man. Appreciate you coming on. Make sure that you follow him on Twitter or X at 60 Academy. Follow his pod. Can't wait to see more of that. Can't wait to see the Weddle show. It's going to be awesome, dude. Follow us on Twitter at Chris Harris Jr., at Patrick Coyote, at Bleav Network. And make sure that you subscribe to this show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until next time, Broncos country, let's ride.